Hi friends, thank you for taking time out of your week to spend a little with me. I appreciate you. This week we're discussing the Christmas murder of the Yazdanpanah and Zare family, which is now referred to as the Grapevine Massacre. As always, I ask you to join me as we remember Fatemeh, Nona, Ali, Zore, Mohammed, and Sarah. At 11:34 a.m. on December 25, 2011, Emergency Services in Grapevine, Texas received a call from the Lincoln Vineyard Apartments. The operator heard a muffled voice saying, help me," followed by labored breathing. Then the line went dead. 2 apartments responded to the call at the apartments located in the 2500 block of Hall Johnson Road. They knocked on the door, but no one answered. One officer attempted to make contact with the residents, while the other peered into the nearby window. He noticed several people seemed to be sitting on the couch, but they remained unresponsive to their calls. The 2 responding officers broke down the front door, where they stumbled into a horrific scene. 7 bodies were found amongst open presents and ripped wrapping paper, systematically executed one by one. All victims were in the living room and appeared to have been shot at least once, with some showing signs of defensive wounds, indicating they tried to shield themselves from the bullets. They all wore pajamas except one victim, an older male who was wearing a Santa Claus suit. The man in the Santa suit was identified as 56-year-old Aziz Yazdanpanah. His wife, 55-year-old Fatemeh, and their 2 children, Nona, aged 19, and Ali, aged 15, were also identified as victims. The other 3 victims were 58-year-old Zore Ramati, who was Fatemeh's sister, and her husband, 59-year-old Mohammed, and their daughter, Sarah, age 22. Initially, officers didn't understand what happened in the apartment. They thought maybe it was a break-in gone wrong. The news quickly spread throughout the complex, and not knowing exactly what happened caused hysteria in the neighborhood. The area was known as being safe, and the news of 7 people murdered on Christmas was very scary. But then the scene started to piece things together. They noticed the apartment itself did not show signs of a break-in, and in fact the only entrance into the home was locked upon their arrival. Then there was the matter of not 1, but 2 guns being discovered in the hands of 2 of the victims. Aziz was armed with a 9mm, while Mohammed held a .40 caliber pistol. Based on the wounds from the victims, both weapons were used in the killings. But the question stood, who was the gunman? Or was it both? A check into the registration revealed the guns belonged to Aziz, but this wasn't enough to place the blame solely on him. Gunshot residue tests were performed to narrow the search down further. From these tests, they determined his hands were coated in residue, whereas evidence showed Mohammed never fired the gun. This meant Aziz open-fired on his entire family during their Christmas celebration, then staged the scene to put suspicion on his brother-in-law, before taking his own life. They believed Aziz chose to use multiple weapons so he wouldn't have to stop to reload. Police were obviously puzzled. What would make a man want to murder his whole family? Through interviews with neighbors, relatives, and friends, a motive was slowly uncovered. Aziz and Fatemeh, who went by Nazrin, were born in Iran. The couple married in 1987 and welcomed 2 children, daughter Nona in 1992, and son Ali in 1997. At the time of their deaths, Nona just graduated from Colleyville Heritage High School in May, while Ali was a freshman at the school. The Yazdanpanah family seemed like your normal loving family. They lived in a 3,000 square foot home in the suburb of Colleyville, Texas. Family and friends stated Aziz could be strict, while Nazrin was more understanding with their children. But in all, the family was tight-knit. Neighbors felt he loved his children and couldn't fathom what happened. They claimed to have sensed things about Aziz throughout the years, but not to the point of him taking his children's lives. Aziz made his living working in the real estate business and forbid Nazrin from working, even though she had licensing to work in cosmetology. When business slowed, Aziz found himself out of work, and although he felt it was his position to provide for his family, he found himself without work for nearly a decade. Eventually, the financial pressure weighed on the family, and Nazrin decided against her husband's wishes to go to work. She found employment in order to help with their increasing debt. Of course, Aziz wasn't too keen on the idea of his wife providing for the family, but she did what she needed to. Nazrin was employed by 2 different spas, utilizing her skill set, while Aziz continued to stay at home. Despite her best efforts, Nazrin could not keep up with the monthly expenses, and the couple filed for bankruptcy in August of 2010. They hoped these proceedings would stave off the inevitable foreclosure of their home. Many believe the burden of handling the household and the dread of losing everything they'd worked so hard for drove a wedge between the couple. Nazrin separated from Aziz in the midst of their bankruptcy proceedings, moving out of the family home in April of 2011. She took the children and, with the assistance of her brother, found an apartment in Grapevine, while Aziz stayed at the home. According to Nazrin's brother, the family was living in the Colleyville house without utilities, and he couldn't bear to see his sister and her children struggle, so he provided the financial backing to get her on her feet. Nazrin continued to work her 2 jobs. While Nona was enrolled at the community college, she had plans to move to California, where she would finish her schooling to become a lawyer. A close friend stated Nona hinted that things in her family were becoming more difficult, but she didn't go into detail. Nazrin was private. She didn't really speak to coworkers about what was happening in her life. She spoke to one about her impending divorce, where she claimed Aziz did not take well to the news. She chose to carry out the divorce when Aziz did not provide for his family as he promised. Nazrin didn't want to make him angry. She was quiet and very kind to everyone. She wanted to be a peacemaker in the matter, and didn't want anything to happen to her children or family. Aziz was described in a similar manner. His friends all claimed he was outgoing but protective. His neighbor called him Packing Heat Bob, since he always carried a gun on him due to altercations with his daughter's previous boyfriend. The news shook those closest, since he was always friendly and generous. One particular friend claimed to counsel Aziz on his divorce. The 2 got drinks together, and from the interaction, he gathered Aziz felt his issues with his wife stemmed from his sister-in-law. He felt like his sister-in-law had complete control over his wife and children, and she slowly turned them against him. Aziz and his brother-in-law Muhammad were close, or so he thought. According to this friend, the pair would lie to their wives about business trips, and the 2 would get hotel rooms with prostitutes. But when Muhammad's wife discovered their hobby, he only told her of Aziz's exploits, and not his own. His brother-in-law Muhammad owned a popular Dallas ranch and was well known in the Iranian-American community. Their daughter Sarah was a pre-med student at the University of Texas. Police found that on Christmas Eve, the family hosted a party at the ranch, and Aziz was not invited. Despite outside perspectives, family involved in the situation stated Aziz and Nazrin seemed to be on relatively good terms. He apparently even had a key to her apartment and would sometimes stop by to see his children. During the investigation, police discovered federal court records for Aziz, where he was placed on 3 years of probation in 1996. He pleaded guilty to 1 count of providing a false income tax return. He was fined $1,000 and required to pay over $30,000 in restitution. Phone records were also subpoenaed, which helped put together a rough timeline of the massacre. Based on the text messages sent by Sarah, they discovered Aziz arrived at the apartment at 11:16 a.m., where she stated her uncle arrived dressed in a Santa Claus suit. She then sent, "Now he wants to be all fatherly and win Father of the Year." Then her messages stopped. They believed at this point the shootings likely happened between 11:16 and 11:32. The call to 911 came in at 11:34 a.m., where the muffled voice could be heard. The 911 call was placed through an audio enhancer, where following the pleas for help, a voice was heard saying, "I am shooting people."
Grapevine 911, where is your emergency? Hello, Grapevine 911. You need help? Are you sick? What was that? Do you need an ambulance or police? Hello? One moment. I'm just getting heavy breathing on the phone and I need to come talk to you, so please send both.
They believed this was Aziz confessing to his crimes after shooting himself. With the evidence stacked up and the statements from those involved, police felt Aziz Yazdanpanah took the lives of his family. Although motive will never be confirmed, it can be speculated that Aziz just lost control of his life, and divorce pushed him to the point of no return. And sadly, his family paid the price. The victims of the Grapevine Massacre were given a private memorial and laid to rest at the Westland Memorial Park in Dallas, Texas. The final resting place of Aziz is unknown. Hi friends, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. As always, I'm interested in hearing your thoughts about this case, so leave them below and we can chat about it. If you found this to be informative, consider giving the video a thumbs up to let YouTube know you want more from me. And lastly, if you're not subscribed yet, you should, because we would love to have you under the ash tree. I want to take a second to show my appreciation for each and every one of you. You don't have to be here, but you are each week, and that means so much to me. With the year coming to a close, I can't help but feel grateful to still be here on YouTube spending time with all of you. Thank you for your support and your kindness. I hope you all have a Merry Christmas or a great holiday if you don't celebrate, and I hope you get to be with those you hold dear and just enjoy the moment. But for now, we must part ways. So stay safe out there, have a great time, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, friends.